Why JavaScript is important for service now is like uh, we may have some APIs like glide record or glide form or glide aggregate, glide record secure like that, which are built by service now. Okay, but whatever the code like to just make any in any form to make something read only or mandatory, you might use those APIs. But in order to write the complex programs, or if you want to build like any payload, while if you want to send any data to other third party API by constructing your own format, then we need to know what is object and what is array, and how we can send the data and how we can construct that particular format. So for that, JavaScript is also very, very important. And there will be some cases like where we need to send a list of items, like list of SSIDs. So list of SSIDs means that is an array. So we have to know what is array and how we can push items into it. So for that, we need to know a little bit about JavaScript. That's why we are learning JavaScript. And even in interviews, like some companies will ask you to write the JavaScript code. They will give you a problem statement, and they may ask for writing like any code, piece of code. So for that, you should know like how to write a code with JavaScript as well. Okay, so we have completed variables yesterday. So let's go with data types. Okay, so data type is something like which type of data it's being stored in any variable, that we call as data type. Okay, so any value in JavaScript is always a certain type. It can be a string or a number, or it can be undefined, or it can be null. So it has to have some type, right? So let's say so var str equals to hi. Okay, so anything which is in single quotes or double quotes, it's a string. Okay, so in order to know what type of data it is, we can use type of operator. Okay, so we have type of, either you can use type of space, the variable name, or type of as a function, so that we can know what type of data it is, whether it's a string or a number. So if it is a number, let's say type of 12. So 12 is a number, so we know it is a number. So in JavaScript, for integers and floating values, there is only one type. For example, 12.55. Still, it will be giving the output as a number only, because in JavaScript we don't have integer separate type and float as a separate type. In C we used to have that, but in JavaScript we will have only one type. Okay. So am I audible, or is it clear, everyone, or any doubts till now?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. So like this, there will be certain types. I request everyone to ping me in chat, like what type of data types can be there. Like just guess what type of data types can be there in any of the languages. If you know C or Java or anything, or JavaScript even. So I request everyone to ping me in chat what type of data types there can be. Waiting for everyone's response. Is everyone? I request everyone to respond. Ping me in chat. Okay. So we have number type, like we have total of 8 types in JavaScript: number, string, uh, undefined, null, object, and symbol. So total we have 8 types. We'll go one by one. What is the type and how we can like what, how we can identify those. Okay. So in this, there are like we can divide these data types into 2 types. One is primitive type and another one is non-primitive type. Okay. So primitive type means the variable will store the direct value of that particular like for example message is there, so in this particular address it will be directly storing this value. Okay. So the primitive type means it will be containing only single value. It doesn't contains multiple value. That's the primitive type. Primitive type means only it can contain only one type of data. Like for example, here there is a message, okay, and it contains hello. Hello is a type of string, and here message is containing some number. So either it can contain a string or a number. So it is a primitive type. Okay. So example for non-primitive type I'll give at the end, but I'm just letting you know what is primitive type. So it, if it contains only one type of data type, either string or a number or anything, only one type of data type in it, then we call it as primitive type. Okay. So and as already we have discussed what is dynamically typed in JavaScript, right? So first, at the start, it can be a string or a number, but later, based on what we have given the value, it can change its type. Okay, first, it is message is hello. That means we are storing some string, but later we are storing a number. That means its type has been changed from string to number. So there is a flexibility to automatically like it will convert its type in JavaScript. That's why we call this programming language JavaScript as dynamically typed. Okay, but if you see in C or Java, we don't write like var message like that. We what how we will define the variables in other programming languages is like, for example, we want to define an int. What we'll do, int space, we will be giving the variable name. Okay, int num equals to 123. So like this we will be defining, for example, float 124, string. So like this we will be defining, and if you try to assign num to any other string like hello or something else, then it will throw an error. But how we are defining any variable in our JavaScript is with just a var. We are be it and be it any number or a string or any other data type, we will define that particular variable with var or let. Not we won't define any data type. We won't stick to any data type here. Okay, so we will just say var and like it can be any of data type, for example username. Okay, so now what is this variable is containing as ss. Okay, let's check what is the type of username. It is string now, right? So what I'll do, I'll assign username to some number and then I'll check what is the type of it. It became number, right? Why? Because I can reassign it to any other data type. Not it is not restricted to string. Okay, that's why we call it as dynamically typed. Is there any doubts in this? No?
Oh,
I'm
it's clear.
okay. So in so in number type in JavaScript, it can be an integer or a floating point. Integer means it's just a decimal number. Floating means it can have some like precisions, dot 123, like point 123, something like that. So in JavaScript, we have for integer and floating point, we have only one type, that is a number. Okay. So we can do some operations like multiplication, division, and subtraction with this number. Like generally how we do those, and we have some special values for this number as well. Special values means like in C or any other languages, like if we try to divide any value with 0, then it will be error. But in within this JavaScript, there is one value, it is there, that is infinity. So which will be output whenever you try to divide any number with 0. And if it is a minus value and then like minus 5 or 3 divided by 0, then it will be minus infinity. Okay, and if you try to divide some random value with any other value, then it says it is not a number. Okay, so generally in other languages, what happens is it will throw an error saying if the operation is incorrect or anything like that. But in order to avoid those, what JavaScript came up with is it has defined some special values, some reserved keywords. Those are infinity, minus infinity, and not a number. So infinity will be coming whenever you try to divide by 0 with any positive value. And if it is a negative value and if you try to divide by 0, then it will be minus infinity. And when not a number will come is some invalid operation we want to have with. So we can't divide this string with a number, right? So that's why it's returning not a number. It's saying it's not a number. Okay. So if you if you even try to do some like subtraction operations using invalid string, then also it will be throwing as not a number. But only there is a limitation for concatenation. But for concatenation of string and number, it won't throw the error as it is not a number. So concatenation means plus operation. So addition operation. So for example, SS is there and you want to add 3 to it. What happens here is it will be appending the value, like whatever the right side value, it will be try to append with left side value. So we use plus for addition as well as concatenation in JavaScript. Okay, so you might think like 3 plus 3. So here it is string 3 and it is number 3. So string 3 plus number 3 is like it, you might think it as a 6, but as it's already a string, any of the value, if it is a string, it will automatically convert other value which is there to a string. So, and this plus operator, whenever there is a string, it will be working as a concatenation. Concatenation means just putting it side by side, just patching the things. So it is trying to append this value to this value. So double quotes 3 plus 3 is 33. Okay. Even in the reverse, it will be giving the same result. If any of the value in the given statement, if it is a string, it will convert other values also to a string. So 3 plus double quotes or single quotes 3 is 33. Like that. Only if all the numbers are like integers, then only this addition operation will happen. 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 12. So if any of these values, if it is string, then it will convert everything to a string. 3 plus 4 is 7. This is both are integers, so it has data integer operation, and then this 7 trying to concatenate, because its right side it's already a string. So this operation being held from left to right. So 3 is integer, like number, and 4 is also a number. So number plus number, it should be a number, right? 3 plus 4 is 7. And whenever 7 came here, 7 plus string 5. So it will just concatenate and the result will be 75. So at this point, you have to know how JavaScript handles the things, so that whenever you are trying to do any operation, it will be easier for you. Okay. So we know what is infinity and what is minus infinity. And if you try to divide or subtract or multiply a string with any of the number, then it will say it's not a number. Okay. Anything which is not a number, if you try to do any operations with it, the result will be not a number itself. NaN means the full form is not a number. Okay. So if you do any mathematical operations with any of the values, you will not get an error, but the value which it throws, the value which will be written either not a number or it will be infinity or minus infinity. Okay. So we have the concept of big int in JavaScript, where if there are any long numbers, okay, if there are any very long numbers which are greater than 2 to the power of 53 minus 1, then this we have to use this big integers. So for normal operations, in generally we don't use this, but whenever we want some precision, like any very, for example, for space they are calculating how much it is the distance. Okay. So they want to do using JavaScript, then this particular number might not be sufficient. So then we have big integer. So in order to define any big integer, like what happens, let's say this is the max value which can hold a number. Okay, where n equals to, I'm giving this number, let me try to print. So whatever I have defined this value and whatever the value it is holding the same, then what I'll do, I'll reassign the value of this number to, I have removed one and I kept two. Still it is taking the value, but let me give two more values. So if you see here, the value which I gave to this n is, at the end it is 9999, but it is holding some other value, like it's making this 0999 to 1000. It's not exactly holding the exact value. Why? Because it's not having that particular capacity to hold, because it's a type of number. So uh, whenever you want to hold any large values which are more than 2 to the power of 53, then you have to make it to big int. So in order to define that particular big integer, we don't specify with any type, but we just add n to the end, so that the type of this particular variable will get changes. Okay, so now this type of n will be number. Okay, but if you add n at the last, okay, then this particular type of this variable will be begin, and whatever the value it holds also, it will be preserving that value. Okay, and type is begin here. Okay, any questions still here? I'm considering it as no. Okay, next was strings. Okay, so string, how to define a string in JavaScript is, so basically in ServiceNow only these two type of defining strings are available, which is one with double quotes and one with single quotes. Okay, so any value which you want to define, like which you want to store, that should be surrounded by double quotes, or it should be surrounded by single quotes. And this is ES6, I guess, which is not supported in ServiceNow. How we can do this is like it's a backticks. So you have to give the backticks and give the number, and if any other value you want to print, for example, whatever there is in str variable, okay, you want to hold that particular, like you want to append that value to here. Okay, then what will happen, like the can embed another and dollar brackets str. That means whatever there is in str variable, that value will replace here. Can embed another hello will be the output. Okay, we just support single quotes or double quotes in ServiceNow, but in JavaScript, in React.js or Angular or anywhere, whenever you are supporting ES6 or vanilla JS, then you can write these particular operations. Okay, so let's str1 is hello. I'm storing str1 with double quotes, where str2 equals to hello. It's a single quotes. Okay, okay, str1 is coming with three. Okay, so I have the values of str1 and str2 as hello, Let me print what it's containing actually. So str1 came with single hello, and str2 also came with single quotes. Whenever I am printing it, like it is automatically converting it from double quotes to a single quote. So like whatever I'm holding in str1 and str2 is at the end it's same. Like even if you can check whether str1 is equal to str2 or not, it should return true. That is returning true means these both are holding the same values. Okay. So generally we will be having in C or Java, we will be having character as a one type. Okay. So generally in those like what is mean by character type, that is not supported, or that is not a type of data type in JavaScript, but generally character will be a data type in other languages. So what it can contain is it can contain only one character. Either it can hold H, or either it can hold E, or any of the alphabet. It can hold only one character. But in JavaScript, we don't have that particular that kind of data type. Okay. So anything which inside a double quotes or single quotes or backticks, it's a string in JavaScript. And we have Boolean as a type, where Boolean means it can hold either true or false. Okay, true or false means, like for example, when we want to use this type is when we want to have like kind of yes or no values. Like for example, what you are to do is this particular thing is there. You want to store whenever user is clicked on, like whenever it is opened, you want to store that as true, and whenever it is collapsed, you want to store it as a false, so that you want to apply, you want to hide this div, or you want to expand this particular values in some code. Like whenever it is expanded, you want to make it as true, and whenever it is like collapsed, you want to have false. So in these cases where there is a possibility of two values, only either it can be true or a false. Okay. So in those particular cases, you can use the type as a boolean. So in order to define a boolean, you have to store the value of either true or a false. So initially, like yeah, for example, it can be any variable. Initially, if it is true, then we can reassign it to false based on our requirement. Okay, either it is a true or a false. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Yeah, whenever these kind of requirements are there, then we will be storing the values of true or false. Whenever it is holding the value either true or a false, then type of this particular variable will be boolean. Okay. So and when generally when we get this particular values as like boolean is like, here I am comparing, like generally single equal to is for assigning the value. What I am doing, str1 is hello, and str2 is also hello. And what here I am trying to do is I am using double equal to. So double equal to means we have to compare. Like here it is comparing whether str1 is equal to str2 or not. So whenever we use double equals to or triple equals to, then here we are comparing whether the left side operator operand and right side operand are equal or not. So that means we are checking whether str1 or str2 is with both are equal or not. So what 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 will be the output? If it is equal to, it will be returning true, and if it is not equal to, then it will be returning false. Okay, for example, if I type hello 1, hello and hello 1 are not equal, so in this case it will be returning false. So whenever we are comparing this any of the values, like it can be double equal to, or if it can be less than or greater than, like we are comparing, then it will be telling whether it is true or false, right? So whatever the type it will be returning, it will be a Boolean type. Okay. So are you getting, like whenever we compare, it will be returning either true or false. So it is returning true or false means it is returning Boolean type. Okay. So whenever if you compare, like for example, where is greater equals to 4 greater than 1. 4 greater than 1, is it true statement or is it a false statement? 4 is greater than 1, right? So it's a true statement. So the is greater will store the value of true. Okay, it's storing the value of true means it's a type of Boolean. Okay, for these kind of, like if you want to hold any value of any statement, or if you want to toggle something, okay, where there is a possibility of only yes or no, in those cases we'll be using this Boolean value. Okay, and in JavaScript we have one type called as null as well. So generally the null, when we use it, like whenever we are defining one variable and saying that it doesn't contain any value, like initially I might not know the value. Okay, for example, one number is there. Okay, initially I will be defining it as a null. Null means nothing, like it doesn't contain anything. In order to define it, I'm storing the value as null to it. Okay, so initially I'll assign it as a null to say it contains nothing. Okay, and then what I'll do, if for example there is some variable, called a, or I'll say num1 12, where num2 is string. Okay, so what I'll do, if num1 and num2 are both are integers, then only I'll assign, like I'll do the concatenation of both, otherwise it will be null. Okay, so there is a requirement saying that you have to add these number1 and number2 and store it in number, like num, and return this value only if these both are numbers. Okay, so here what I'll check, type of num1 equals to number, and type of num2 is also, it should also be a number in order to do the addition. I can return number1 plus number2. So generally we'll use return inside a function. As we are not using any function, I'll just log the value. Okay, console.log. So it is saying both values should be number. So here, actually what I have to do, I have to add, like at the end, I have to store the number1 and number2 to num, and then I have to print it. So what I'm like, it should be like, generally we use this null in order to return if it contains nothing. Okay. So instead of writing like this, I'll write a function add numbers. So I'm calling this function add number. So first value is 1 and second value is 2. It is returning 3. Okay. First value is 1 and second value is 2, and it is returning 3. But next time what I'm passing is, I'm passing some invalid value, invalid number. So it is in string. So it is returning null because it is not able to add the number. Okay. So here null means we are not able to like it doesn't contain anything. Null means, okay, the special value null value is doesn't belong to any of the types, but it's a separate type where uh, we we show it to like it doesn't contain anything. It's an empty value or it's unknown value. In order to define an unknown value or empty value, we'll be using null. Okay. And there is separate type of undefined as well. So whenever we declare any variable, then the value of that particular variable will be undefined by default. What I mean is, right, so there is a declaration and definition in any variable or any function. So for example, var name is one variable, what it's returning. So like, for example, if I like I didn't assign any value to it. Like if I assign string, the type will be string. If I assign number, the type will change to number. But as of now, I have just declared this. Declaration means I have just like I have just seen it as a variable. I have just declared that. Definition means giving some value to it. So I have right now I have just declared that particular variable with the name. As of now, it doesn't contain anything. So if I check what is the type of this particular name, then it will be, oh, might be because we have already used this variable. It shouldn't be string, it should be undefined. Let's use another variable, maybe because I have used that particular variable once upon a time. So variable w, I have declared this variable, and let's check what is this type of. So if you see, what it's returning is undefined. That means it doesn't know what type of value it contains. Okay, that means it is not holding any value. Okay, if it is holding even null, it will be returning null. If it contains string, it will be returning string. But if it is not holding any of the value, like it is just a declared value, but it is not holding any of the value, then it will be returning undefined. Okay, the undefined will be, so there is a difference between null and undefined. When we give the value, like in order to say it is not containing anything, we will be assigning the value of null. But here, if we just declare the value, then the value will be undefined. Okay. So it might be confusing at the start, but whenever like you use it in any of the script in later parts, you will understand it a bit more. Okay, and there is a type of object and symbol. Okay, object is a special type. It is non-primitive type. Okay, so primitive types, like till now whatever we have discussed, all are primitive types only. Primitive types means it can contain only one type of data. It can contain any number or a string or any big int or a boolean. Okay, it can contain one type of data. Those are till now whatever we have discussed, those are primitive. Okay, but here object is a non-primitive type. Okay, so object, why object is non-primitive type? So first we have to know how to define an object, and so in later parts we can learn more about object, but I'll just tell you how we can define an object and what it can contain. For example, where obj equals to so here object is containing number and a string. Okay, 22 is number and Sunil is string. So it can contain either a number or a string. If I check type of this obj variable, it is an object. Okay. So like in order to define an empty object, what we can give is, it is defining an empty object, and if you want to add any of the variables into it, you can directly write like this: ob1 dot property name, for example, dot name equals to Sunil, ob1 dot age equals to 22. Okay, so here we are assigning like here it is an empty object, and inside this object we are creating a properties of name and age, and the values will be Sunil and 22. So we can know more about it in later parts, but I'm just letting you know how we can have the object. Here obj1 I have written. Let me just so here if I try to print the object ob1, so here it contains name as Sunil and age as 22. Okay. So that is a type of object, and there is one more type, which is symbol is also there. That we can discuss later. We won't use this in ServiceNow or most of the places, but symbol is one type where it is used to create unique identifiers. Okay, so if there are any unknown values or unique values you want to create inside an object as a property, then we can use symbol. That we will know in later part. So, and type of operator, as we are already, as we already know, like I am using type of in order to know what type of value it is. Okay, so these are all examples in order to know what is each type. So here it is directly undefined. What is the type of undefined? It is undefined. Type of 0, number 10 followed by n. That means it's a big int. Type of true or false values, then it's a Boolean. So like there is a difference between normal true and if it is double quotes true. So if it is just a true or false, then it will be Boolean. If you use double quotes or single quotes for this true, then it will be a string. So be careful whenever you are trying to compare a string value or a Boolean value. So Boolean value will be without double quotes, just a true or false. Okay. So if there is any double quotes or single quotes, it will be a string. Okay. If there is a symbol, then it will be a symbol. We can know about it later. And there will be some predefined methods like math or date, those objects which are provided by out of the box JavaScript. So that is an object. And as you might not know, like for null, uh, like always the type of null will be object, because null is internally an object. Okay, so even the type of like for that's why I didn't tell you about type of null. It might be confusing, but it's a property of JavaScript. We shouldn't check the null with the type. We should check with the value itself. Okay, so the type of null won't be null, it will be object. Okay, so that's it. Any doubts still here? Hello. Okay, I'm continuing with the next slide. So it is just like we have learned about data types now till now. So we can go for alert, prompt, and confirm. So alert, prompt, and confirm, or like alert is like how it's an alert where it will be showing some information to us, and there will be a button. If you click on OK, like we have to click on OK. You know, like for example, if you want to show some information in JavaScript, we can use alert. The syntax will be alert followed by whatever the values you want to show. Hello, if you want to show, then you have to put that value inside. The prompt will be here, prompt title, and here it is a syntax. Okay, so what is the syntax here? Prompt will be returning some value, and whatever the value it returns, that will be storing in a result. And title is whatever the information it is showing, and the default value is what is the default value which we want to show to the user. That is the default value. Prompt, I'll show how it will be looking like. For example, prompt, how old are you? And the default value is 100. Okay, so how old are you came here as a title, and as we have given this 100 here with the prompt, so here 100 is coming. So we can always change this value to any other value and press OK. So what is this age will store is age variable will store this value, which is 22, and in the next line, what we are doing, we are using backticks. You are whatever the age will hold the 22. So I'll get one more alert saying you are 22 years old. Okay. I'm clicking on OK. So I got the output as you are 22 years old. Okay. So there is one more type. So these will be useful, like prompt will be useful whenever you want to get any information from the user. Okay. If you want to get some information, then we can use prompt. You just want to show the information, then we can use alert. And confirm is something, it's kind of yes or no. Like, are you a boss or not? Are you a developer? Or are you a tester? So the like yes or for yes or no questions, we can use confirm. So where there will be two buttons, okay or cancel. Okay means the result will be is boss will be storing true, and if I cancel, it will be storing false. Okay, if I click on cancel, then it will be storing false as a value that we are using as a alert. Okay. Any doubts still here? Hello. So that's it till now. We can know about type conversions all that tomorrow.